All right, we're getting ready for this is all brand new. And we are live. How you doing, friends? It's still Ernie. Still myself, but under a different moniker. And I'm here to explain why. Have I changed me? No. Have I changed the window dressing? A little bit. Have I changed the content? It'll be more focused. It'll definitely be more focused. Now, does this mean, as some have said, oh, Ernie's shilling something? It's not possible for me to shill anything other than my own stuff, which by definition wouldn't be shilling. No, I have not left the farm. I am not selling out. I am not doing any of those things. What I am doing is a little bit of marketing, I guess. I've come to the realization that the way you get ahead in here is by blatantly calling out to all those millennials and cryptomaniacs that, hey, I'm here. Take a look. If you like what you see, great. If you don't, out of here. Generally, I am a business person, technologist, technology enthusiast, and commentator on life, politics, and our general condition. That's what I do. To some, I might be some granddad or old fart, although I am not a grandfather. I guess I'm old enough to be. But I'm young at heart and mind. I still think I'm 20 years old. My wife thinks that I'm 7 years old. But I'm probably longer than most of you have been alive, and I'm sure that you think that someone my age couldn't possibly be in touch with the current technology like you are. But you are so wrong. See, most of these technologies I've been involved with right from the very inception of those technologies, the beginning. On the internet, I was there. I was the guy putting online brokerages online. And I'm not saying that figuratively. I'm saying that in a literal sense. That I was working for companies like Fidelity, the S&P, Charles & Schwab, where I literally pushed the buttons, negotiated with the management on what and how we would push online brokerages online. So when I talk about this stuff, I'm talking from a little bit of experience. What else will you get from Crypto Ernie? I'll talk about news, sure. I'll talk about it if I think that if it's valid, if it's going to make a point, if it's going to advance the cause of one thing, and that's making you money. That is why I'm here. I am here to make you money, and in all truthfulness, to make me money. In order to do that, I feel that the best approach is to be authentic. And everything that you hear from me, the way I talk, the way I act, isn't much different than when I am not behind this camera. And that's the truth. To the great chagrin of some of my family members. But that's the way it is. You know, you got to be you. If I feel like there are so-called pundits out there that are trying to move markets, that are professing a narrative that I know is BS, I'm going to call them out on it. I don't care if they are the Jesus of crypto. I will call them a fraud if they are a fraud. And I'll back it up. I'll get into a philosophical discussion. I'll get into a technological discussion. I'll get into any discussion you want. Because I love arguing. And I love calling out con men. Because this industry is ripe for con men and fraud. It just is. I mean, there are so many people that just don't understand it, yet they see that potential for making lots of money, and they are sheep just waiting to be devoured. And there's lots of wolves out there, and we'll point them out. The other thing that we'll be doing is doing a lot of analysis of Bitcoin and where it's going, where the price is going, so that you as an investor or a trader can make smart decisions. And it's not just analysis of the price action and the industry and the outlook, but it's also analysis of how you approach trading and investing in Bitcoin. And why am I just talking about Bitcoin? Although my moniker now is Crypto Ernie. Well, everyone is putting crypto in front of there. Will I cover altcoins? Will I cover what are colloquially called shitcoins? I will, only to point out that there are people behind there that have real, for the most part, not all. There are some legitimate people out there that are trying to create or carve out an ecosystem apart from Bitcoin. There definitely are. But I would say that 98 to 99% of them are frauds. And they are there for one purpose only, and that is to defraud you, deflock you of your cash. That's what they're there for. Nothing else. They will promise you the Lambos and hoes and island villas and all this other stuff for that express purpose. 100%. I am very familiar with the SEC, the CFTC, because I was for many years a professional in that industry. Ran hedge funds. Traded tens of millions of dollars in notional value of futures and for clients. So I understand that industry. I also have a long background and experience in technology and the management of technology, particularly when it comes to finance and distributed and decentralized computing. That has been the majority of my background. I've also worked in many other industries. I was an international technology management consultant where I literally went around the world helping people make sense of their technology and making sure that it made sense, that it was viable, and that it was coincident with their business plan and their outlook. That's what I did. For the past 6 or 7 years, I've been making my living online because it's fun and I enjoy tremendous amounts of freedom. I've been kind of a self-directed person for many, many years. Decades, I should say. Do I have creds? Yeah. And do I have bona fides? Of course I do. And maybe this sounds a little bit like bragging because other people have heard me saying that over and over. I'm just trying to lay it out. This is the video this is my coming out, so you know who I am. I'm a family man. I have dogs, great dogs, Rhodesian Ridgebacks. I've owned Rhodesian Ridgebacks for almost 25 years. I live in a very nice area. I enjoy that. I enjoy the solitude. I'm a naturalist. I am also a libertarian. Not the big L libertarian, not the crazies. I am more of a, constitutional, conservative, classical, liberal. All of those things. And all of that, you know. And I'm also a child of the 60s and 70s, which was a very different time from these days. And sometimes I have a little bit of trouble coming to grips with the lack of sensibility of people these days. And so that will definitely come out. That's who I am. That's who Crypto Ernie is. Who is also, I believe I'm a visionary. I think I know where things are going. I have a good idea. I understand how businesses act and why they act. I understand the markets. I've been like I said, a hedge fund manager and an automated trading specialist. I've developed literally thousands of quantitative programs and systems for myself, for well-heeled investors, for multi-billion-dollar hedge funds, for institutional banks, all of those. I have also been the top dog, the top technologist of a Fortune 50 company that was responsible largely for the build-out during the tech.com era of Wall Street. My team literally built most of the systems and provided most of the support for most of the financial companies and hedge funds on Wall Street, including the exchanges. That's my background. So that's what I am. What am I doing? I'm also not slow in doling out what I call tough love. If I feel a kick upside the head, you know, figuratively. All right. The other thing that this show is going to be about is interaction. Interaction with the people. I mean, I feel that is absolutely necessary. I keep a constant eye on the chat. I see you there. A constant eye, because I want to hear what you're saying. I want to interact with you. So today, Adam, I'm not going to talk about any specific thing like the Lightning Network, although if you go back in my videos, there's nothing specifically that's called, a treatise on Lightning Network, but if I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to research it the best I can, and I'm going to present my case, why I think it is good, bad, or indifferent, why people are hyping it, etc. I'll talk about news, as I said, and I'll talk about the technology, and I'll talk about the people. All for the purpose of giving you, I think, enough information that you can establish your own vision, your own sensible path, and hopefully give you the tools that you need to navigate that path. I deal only in logic and reason. I am a student of logic and reason. But I ain't no cupcake. I ain't no snowflake, that's for sure. I am the anti-snowflake. And that's exactly what I said. I am going to be talking mainly, all of this is designed around talking about how to make money. So one thing that is required to make money is that you have to take risks. But that's only part of the equation. You have to be motivated. You have to know what you want, or at least strive towards a vision, and be true to that vision and stay consistent. That's how you make money. My vision for the past, 20 years has been to, and this may sound a little bit weird, to do as little as I possibly can while making as much as I possibly can. What I mean is that I want to expend as little effort, or at least expend enough effort to get things in motion so that they work for me. To perpetuate things so that I can have time to spend doing other things, or research other endeavors, or enjoy life. Go on vacations, travel, spend time as my kids were growing up, and they're now grown. So that was always my goal here. So like what I'm doing here now, I promote my business, particularly PatternCast, a business that I've developed with a partner that includes some incredible technology. Get that up and running, get some happy customers, get them making money. I can sit back and watch. So that's my goal. That's my vision. To do nothing and make money doing it. I shouldn't say nothing. But do things that I like to do. I love coming up here and talking with you guys. And then every once in a while a troll comes along and beating that troll down into the ground. Nail their head to the floor. Rip their liver out. If you're old enough, that's an actual reference to an old Monty Python script or skit. Segwit coin, Ernie. Is that supposed to mean something to me? I mean, I understand the Segwit technology, but EOS. Oh, I see. Your Ernie, is it? Crypto Ernie. There are no other Crypto Ernies out there. I registered the domain this morning. It's up there. I don't know exactly what I'm going to put on it yet. It may just point to PatternCast. I don't know. Maybe I'll put maybe I'll put something that people can chat with. I don't know. Maybe you can tell me. What do you want? Well, thanks, Bleed Heart Inflection. Millennials better not mess with Ernie. I don't want to think that they can't mess with me. I am the creator of two millennials. What I mean by that is I'm their father. And they're very good people, and I have insight. And I'm actually, I'm like one of those cool dads that can hang out with my kids. As a matter of fact, even though they're in their mid to late 20s, they still go on vacation with their parents because they love us. And they bring all their friends, and they love us. So, I don't want to think, or you to think, that I'm not relatable to millennials. All right, let's see. This is why you started selling signals. I've been selling signals and services like this for 10 years. All right, so I didn't start selling signals. It's more of a, how should I say, serendipitous moment, A friend who I'd been friends with online and over the phone, although I've never met him in person. We've done probably 1,000 Skypes together and so forth. We always talked about technology, and he's been developing this thing for about 10 years, and I kept on pushing him. I said, this is great. We should push this out to the internet. It would be a great moneymaker. It's a great idea, because not only can it apply to finance, but it can apply to so many other things. That let's start at finance, because that's what I know and how we can start up a business. But then we can see where else it can go. Other places that require some sort of predictive capability that could use pattern recognition. And so that's how that business started, serendipitously. That started putting it out there just for fun, and people thought, wow, this is unbelievable. And again, all towards my ultimate vision and goal, my vision quest, to create services or create passive income, to create income, create businesses that can run on their own, that make me money while I'm sleeping. That's why I started selling signals. But there are other things that I do too. Property, other businesses, other online businesses. Adam says most humans are financial slaves. No, they're actually slaves of the confines of their mind, the walls that they've built around what they think they are capable of. That's what they're slaves to. They have chosen to follow a very narrow path. And then because of that, they're not open to, and they don't see what other things that they are capable of or could do. And so the more they follow that path, the more they're ingrained to it and invested in it, and the harder it is for them to leave it, because everything else is scary. How can I contact you in private? I'll just say this, that you can go to traderoffutures.com, traderoffutures.com, and there is an about link there. That's how. What resources to learn would you recommend for beginner traders? All right, so that's a very good question, Christian. Very, very good question. What are the best resources? And this is going to sound a little off. Now, I want you to hearken back to when I said that I was there at the literal launching of online brokerages, right? I was there talking to the executives of Fidelity and Charles Schwab and other big brokerages. I consulted to most of these places and the sell-side analysts. And what I'm going to tell you is that they figured out a way to make money off of you and make you feel like and make you feel like you were learning something from them on how to make that money. Yet 90% of you don't make it. So you all followed all the edicts of trading and technical analysis and this analysis and that analysis, and still most of you are just abysmal failures. And that's exactly what they wanted, because they didn't care whether or not you made money. They only cared about one thing, that you would produce transactions, because that's how a broker, an online broker, makes money. The more transactions you create, whether you win or lose, no matter to them, the more transactions you create, the more money they make. They don't care if you lose all your money, because they know, not only do they know that you will be back with more money, but there will be someone else to take your seat. And it's perpetual, forever, because they also know through the power of marketing that they can throw all of these accolades and visions of sugar plums and rainbows and hoes and Lambos, yes, and keep you coming back. So when you ask what resources to learn, what I recommend for a beginner trader, it wouldn't be any of the traditional resources, none of them, because all of them are wrong. All of them are wrong. Technical analysis is not a viable strategy. It's not a strategy at all. It's a modeling. It's kind of a intuitive, semi-technical. I mean, technical is the wrong word. Analysis methodology that is based on nothing. Because if it was based on something, there would be real statistical components to it, and there are not. There are some people that have tried to apply statistical components to it, or analysis to it, or verification, which I've done many times and for a long time, and proved to myself that technical analysis is BS. Total BS. The only people that make money at technical analysis are the ones that have the intuition for markets mostly because they have experience. But some people just have that knack. I mean, there are just some people, we all hate them, but they have that knack for making money, and they do well. And then they use technical analysis as kind of a way to kind of focus their minds. But it ain't for you. Because it's not a prescriptive way to make money. As a matter of fact, it is a prescriptive way to create more transactions and ultimately lose money. That's what it is. So what would I recommend? There are very few people out there, and I've adopted actually a philosophy of one particular person, and it has also been out there for others. Some people that you don't know, but one person that I think really gets it. He gets the nature of people, business, being, the world, risk. And that is Nassim Taleb. Nassim Taleb. And he has 4 books that I would recommend. None of them, by the way, are specifically about trading. However, the philosophy that's imparted through these books is everything that you need to know about trading. Right? The first one is The Black Swan. The second one is Anti-Fragile, Fooled by Randomness. The third one is called Fooled by Randomness. And then the fourth one, his most recent, is called Skin in the Game. Those 4 books, that's what I would do. I would read those like they were Bibles. The cool thing about them is that they are essentially allegories. They are not, even though he is an academic mathematician and world-renowned philosopher, which he imparts on all of these, they are a series of short stories with repeatable characters that you will fall in love with that provide the treatise for his ideas. His ideas on the way the world actually works. And he has made fuck you money. Oh, I said I wasn't going to swear. F you money. He has made F you money on this entire compendium or philosophy. And it's what it is also the basis for what and how most hedge funds and most professional traders act, whether they do it specifically by what he does and use his philosophy directly, or they have found that way on their own. Another good set of books are by Jack D. Schwager. Right? Schwager. All right, let's see if I can... see if I can find them over here. It's on Amazon. I should just bring that up, right? So Jack D. Schwager, he wrote a whole series of books. They're actually a compilation of interviews that he did with the most successful traders in the world. The people that you've never heard of. The people who have made the FU money and continue to make the FU money. Applying a lot of the philosophy that they learned or they developed or that is coincident with Nassim Taleb. But he wrote a series of books called Market Wizards. Market Wizards. All right. And I think there's about 5 or 6 of them. So we're going to do Jack D. All right. So here are his books on Amazon. And then the next guy would be Nassim Taleb. And here are his books. He's got a lot of great videos on YouTube too. This is where I would spend all my time before I opened up a brokerage account. And if you did open up a brokerage account, I would join my service, whether it's the PatternCast for futures, forex, and stocks, or the PatternCast for Bitcoin. I would join that service and then paper trade for a little while, simulated trade, get used to your environment, get used to your platform, get these philosophies under your head, start understanding the concept of preserving your capital. That should be your number one thing, having reverence for your money. Because your money is representative of your labor, your effort in the world. And so when you make money, that is a store of the value that you created for other people. So you should have reverence for that. You should find out how to keep it. And then also, of course, how to make more. That would be good. So those are the types of things that I'll be talking about. I'll talk about Nassim Taleb quite a bit. As a matter of fact, PatternCast, in a large part, is philosophically aligned with Anti-Fragile, Black Swan, and Fooled by Randomness. So Bleedheart, I often say that TA, or technical analysis, is actually a SWAG. SWAG is a military acronym that means scientific wild ass guess. That's essentially what it is. They pretend to use science to create a wild ass guess about where they think the markets are going. Michael Garcia says that I'll get demonetized for the F word. So let me say this. You will never, ever see me try to monetize one of my videos. Ever! Never will I try to monetize my video. So that's not why I try to not swear. It's only because I'm trying to keep myself contained a little bit and try to make these shows at least accessible by a wider audience. That's the reason why I'm trying not to swear. So I don't care about being demonetized. They can demonetize every single video for all I care, because I don't try to monetize. You'll never see an ad on my videos. And that's probably one of the reasons why it's so hard to grow the channel quickly. Because I don't want ads on it. I don't want any part of that corporate mentality. I don't want any part of it. I just want to present the content to you, and that's it. So I don't care about being demonetized. What about reminiscences of a stock operator? Also, a great book that is a sort of a biography. It's actually kind of like an autobiography, I believe, of a very famous trader that lived around the turn of the century. And I don't mean this century, I mean 1800s to 1900s, called Jesse Livermore. And yeah, that book is, I think, let's see if we can find it here. Well, he has one called How to Trade Stocks, which I would recommend. Actually, I don't think that is he the author? Is he called the author? Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. There it is. Oh, it says it's actually written by Edwin Lefebvre, which a lot of people believe is Jesse Livermore. So yeah, I like that book. It's an interesting book. Would I recommend trading like that? No. Not unless you want to end up like Jesse Livermore. Rob Browning, what do you think of all this inverted yield curve recession talk, Ernie? Okay, so first of all, being a futures trader and a student of the global macroeconomic condition, and also having traded literally hundreds of millions of dollars, sometimes in a single trade, of Treasury futures, I know something about the yield curve. I follow it. As a matter of fact, I plot it on a regular basis. I'll bring up a spreadsheet that will show you where we're at with the yield curve. The yield curve is a plotting of all of the different categories of treasuries. Treasuries represent interest rates. So we have short-term from as little as overnight to 1 month, 3 month, a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, etc. You have all these treasuries, and each of them have their specific use for different parts of industry. Like long-term debt is really used for long-term things like property. Short-term debt is used for banks, loaning things, or credit cards, car loans, business loans, that sort of thing. All of this is serviced by and financed by and controlled. The interest rate, the prevailing interest rate, is controlled by this thing called treasuries because we're in a debt-based system. The yield curve is all right. Why isn't Excel opening up? There it is. So here's a plotting of those securities. You can see all the symbols here represent the 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, 10 Ultra, 30-year, and 30 Ultra. They're just different versions showing a different aggregate of different length securities. But that's essentially all of the major futures products across the spectrum. And then here's the yield you can expect from each one of those. And then I plot the yield up here. And you can see this blue line is the yield as of February 1st, 2018. The orange line is this past January. And this green line was just a couple of days ago. Now, one thing you can see, when they talk about inverted or a steepened yield curve or a flat yield curve, an inverted, the normal situation is to have a steep yield curve, one where the short-term rates are smaller than longer-term rates. So it is steep. It goes uphill, like this blue line. Sometimes we get into an economic situation where the Federal Reserve feels it's necessary. I got to get my head over here. Sometimes the Federal Reserve, we get into a situation where they feel it's necessary to adjust. They can only adjust the overnight lending rate, the very, very short end of the yield curve, and change the overnight lending rate for banks. And then they would expect that to trickle through all the other yields, but it doesn't. They think it does, but it doesn't. So they'll raise rates to make money more expensive if they think the economy is heating up and they need to put the brakes on it. Because they think they know more than the collective wisdom of hundreds of millions of investors and customers and consumers out there. And they don't. They're fools. Yet they keep on up trying to adjust that interest rate to control the economy. And ultimately what they do in a hot economy is they push the short-term rates up until we get a situation where the the yield curve is no longer steep like I showed you. It's no longer steep like this blue line. That blue line. And the short-term rates start rising, and the other rates don't go up for whatever economic condition there is. Now you can see what happened since January is we stayed at essentially the same shape, but we made what's called a parallax move down where all the rates came down about the same amount. See that? They all came down to this green line. But you look at the short part, this here, the 2-year, is actually higher than the 5-year, and it's about the same as the 10-year. So that they are calling that an inverted yield curve, but that is not really an inverted yield curve. An inverted yield curve is when that 2-year and all these other rates are higher than the longer term rates. All right? Now, why is that significant? Well, I think I'll show you. The reason why it's significant is that economists and other investors and others have noticed that every time the yield curve becomes inverted, that soon after that we have a recession. Now, is there a correlation to that? Is there a causation to that correlation? I mean, is that why? We don't know, except that every single time there's been an inverted yield curve that has been followed by a recession anywhere from 12 months to 18 months later. Now I'm talking about a real inverted yield curve. So they're really concerned about that. They see the short end starting to invert, and they all panic. The sky is falling! Friggin' idiots. Or tards, or what I call frigtards. This is not an inverted yield curve. This is a short end inversion, but I've never seen a short end inversion precede a recession, period. All right, and to show you that, I'm going to show you that. Because where would I be without showing you? All right, I got to put the charts on here. Now, what I'm showing you here is a depiction of the yield curve. You can see it over here on the left. And that's that same chart that I showed you right here. Let's see, where the hell is it? Right there. That green bar right there is essentially the same thing as this red line here. All right? It's plotting the same thing. They've squished it a little bit more to make it look like it's a little bit worse. Or actually, they're showing the 3-month in here so that I don't show the 3-month. I only show the 2-year. So again, look at this. So that green bar is the same thing. I don't show the 3-month because the 3-month futures aren't available to me to plot. All right, so you can see there's the little inversion that they're talking about. And that's all because the Fed has raised, or short-term rates. Recently, they lowered them a quarter of a basis point, 25 basis points, because they felt like they overshot, so they say, and they're probably planning on doing 1 or 2 more cuts to bring that short end down, so we continue on with a steep yield curve. All right, that is showing the yield curve as of today. On the right-hand side is a 17-year chart of the S&P. And there's a little scrubber here, this red line, and I can take that scrubber and I can move it across and go back in time and show you what the yield curve looks like at any point in time. All right, so let's do that. Let's start moving this back. And you can see as we move back, we've had a very flat yield curve. Up until recently, when we started going through this massive bull run, right when Trump gets into office, and the Fed, who hates Trump, for all this time while Obama was in office, they kept the yield curve steep and didn't budge interest rates. which basically created cheap money for Obama to spend like a drunken sailor. And as soon as Trump gets in there, because they hate him, they started to raise rates. And it created a slight inversion. Now, here's the Great Recession right here, and the Great Crash of 2008, 2009. Let's take a look at what happened. And over here is when we had the dot-com bubble burst. So 2 huge recessions. So let's look what happened as we're leading up to those recessions. You see we have a flat yield curve. And then as we get closer, you see how it becomes inverted? That's an inversion. That is a real inversion right there. Right? And then once we start crashing, they go, holy crap! And then they start lowering short-term rates. And then we go through an economic cycle again where things start getting better. Better. All the while the Fed is raising short-term rates, causing the yield curve to flatten and then go inverted again, or almost inverted. See right there, it went inverted. And then we crash again. Only this time, they kept interest rates at 0 for 8-9 years. They kept it there. Right up until the election, where they decided to start raising rates again, causing us to get an inverted, at least on the short term. Had they left it alone, we would have been we'd have low interest rates, but we would have had a nice steepened yield curve. All right, so now everyone's saying, oh, we're getting an inverted yield curve again, but it's only on the short. The others aren't inverted like they were way back here. You can see clearly here we can see the 20-year is higher than the 30-year. And all of these rates are higher than the 10-year. That's more of an inversion. And even this is more of an inversion. But that's hardly this. It's more flat. So that's where we're at. Hopefully that's Sammy Zuko says Ernie Vase. Holy crap. I debated Tone Vase, which was largely voted that I trounced him in the debate. And you can find that on my YouTube channel. Backed is launching BTC futures. Yeah, whatever. And they're claiming that they're going to settle it in actual BTC, in physical BTC. That seems to be an oxymoron. Frank Run, by changing to Crypto Ernie, will it more crypto chart, crypto market, or crypto philosophy, or just sarcastic? Both. It will be more crypto oriented and contrarian. So, I don't want to, what I'm saying is I'm not changing that much, but enough. Crypto Trucker, not Tucker, Trucker. I like Trader of the Futures better. Just my opinion. Been lurking your channel since February 2018 before the channel crash and rebirth. Yes. What he's referring to is back in May of 2018, my identity was stolen. They deleted my YouTube channel, which had tens of thousands of subscribers, and it was growing off the charts. My business was flying, and then they destroyed me. Only temporarily, but like the phoenix, I have risen out of the ashes. Jesse J., this is the 3rd or 4th time you've changed your brand. I remember Ernie the Apple Investor was something. Well, look, Apple Investor. There's a long story behind that, and I had that from early or mid 2000s until 2011, And it had nothing to do with business. I was just doing it as sort of fun and putting out information on trading. And it was really an exercise in trying to come to some sort of spiritual redemption on a bad cataclysmic economic trade that I had back in 2007, or even before that. And then I started to get into things, and then I became the trader of futures and started to sell courseware on trading futures. So I became trader of futures. Now I'm moving more towards the crypto because I believe that that is our future. I will still talk about futures and stocks and equities and Forex. But I believe that, like it or not, and as much as I am a contrarian, I believe that we are going to some sort of decentralized capital and monetary system. I don't know when, but we are definitely going there. So I'm getting ahead of the game, and I'm deciding that's where I'm going. How you doing, Hayseed? Before that, mobile oil, Ernie? No, it was never mobile oil, Ernie. Crazy Ernie? I've always been crazy Ernie, yep. And thank you, Trucker. I'm sure you're referring to the yield curve. Red Browning. I'll keep an eye on that site then, Ernie, and know when exactly inverted. Then might be a good time to get out. No, because the inversion, you still have about, like I said, anywhere from 6 months to 18 months before you have to get out. Because what happens is, during that inversion, we typically keep on going up for a little bit, or go sideways, or start rolling over. Can we get a copy of your Excel yield curve spreadsheet and the source of the data? The source of the data is from the CME. Hold on. It's called Treasury Analytics. It's on the CMEgroup.com website. And this is the source of the data. Again, it's called Treasury Analytics. This is where I get the daily yield on the treasuries. CME is the exchange that hosts all the treasury contracts. It's a $20 trillion market, $22 trillion now, I guess. And as far as getting a copy of the spreadsheet, well, there's a lot to this spreadsheet, and it's way more than just what's on the that yield curve. That's only part of the spreadsheet, because the spreadsheet is actually meant to calculate what's called the dollar value at one point rate, the spread between different treasury products. So a different treasury spread. So as you can see, that I have calculated the DV01 ratio of all the spreads that are available between the treasury products. And that's what this spreadsheet really is about. This is something that of course, there's the knob trade, the bob trade, the tut trade, the tough trade, the tub trade, the fit trade, all of these trades that global financiers and professional traders, global macro traders use. This is what I used when I was trading treasuries. So this is actually quite a valuable spreadsheet. I'll think about sharing it. Frank says, Junto Coin, it's kind of decentralized capital. So Junto Coin, what Frank is referring to, is an idea that I had for creating a coin that would represent a vote in how to invest into the cryptocurrency market. And unfortunately, I started this first by selling membership to this Junto Coin club. And by proxy, I would give everybody a very small amount of Junto Coin, which was really worth nothing. However, according to what the SEC was doing, what I was doing was actually illegal. And so I had to back off on it. And I'm still waiting for them to come to some clarity on whether or not I can sell such a token where a group can sort of determine the direction of a fund on their groupthink instead of an individual doing it. And that's the idea of it. Unfortunately, the SEC rules right now do not allow it. So, and yeah, we've got about 250 members in that club, actually. And I would love to revitalize Junto Coin because I think it's a great idea to let the masses sort of decide exactly the investments of a fund. But apparently the SEC still says that coin then would be a security, and that would kind of invalidate or make it very difficult to run this fund. Thank you, Jeff. All right. So hopefully I'm, quote, shilling my own product because that's how I make a living. It is a signal service built on pattern recognition technology. It's called PatternCast at PatternCast.com. You can get a year subscription right now. We just released the service. It's based on an older service that we are currently running that has been wildly successful. It's the same technology applied strictly to Bitcoin. You can get a year's subscription for $349, and you can pay in crypto, by the way. You can pay in crypto. So go to PatternCast.com. That is only until September 1st. That's when I come back on vacation. So basically I'm giving you this, great introductory rate while I'm on vacation. So we've already got, I think, 67 people signed up, I think. 67. 67 people signed up at that rate. I'm going to cut it off at 100. So there's 33 spots left. All right. Once I get 33, pull in the plug, and then we're going to start marketing it and raising the price big time. So get into it now. You also that comes with that is a trade room where you're going to get me and my partner full time for very little money. All right. I want to thank everybody for showing up. I really appreciate it. Please like this video. Go down and hit that like button right now. You must do that. Go down and hit the like button and share this video out to your friends. Tell them about this show. I'm trying to figure out whether or not 11 o'clock or 2 o'clock is the best time. Maybe 11 o'clock is a better time. I don't know. I'm talking about Eastern time. So you tell me, and I'll stick to that. I'll do it 5 days a week. I'm even going to do it while I'm on the vineyard. So tell me what's best for you guys. Again, thank you very much, and we'll see you next video.